What is up? It is Rad here, and I have another quick video for you. Today we will be working in the same project that we created last time, which is our calculator. But just a little disclaimer before the video. I realized when I made this project, the part I'm about to show you, I kind of packed in more too many new ideas than I wanted to, and I can see how it can be confusing. So after this video, instead of making another project, I'm going to make two new videos. Covering the new topics that we covered in here. Essentially, I want to cover subroutines and functions, and also show how we work them into error handling in this one. But just when I was doing this one, I could see how if you were unfamiliar with them before, that it would be kind of confusing. But alas, I'm going to go ahead with this video, show you how to create these, show you how you do a little error handling with this, and then I will make one or two simpler videos to kind of break them down further. And show you a simpler example, so maybe you can get a better understanding for them from those if you didn't really get it from this video. Okay, so right here we have our calculator. Mine might look a little bit different from yours because I just created a new one real quick, but essentially it's the same. It's the same program, has the same code right here. And we're actually not going to work in the design at all for this. We're going to work right in the form, which if that is not there for you, you can right click on your form, click view code, and it'll take you right here. So this is all the same as it was in the last video. And here is where we are going to create a function. And you can see right here, there are subs, private sub, button divide click, blah, 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 has the code in it. And the difference between a sub and a function is that a function returns the values. For this sub, it takes txt. It sets txt answer.text to the equation right here, but it doesn't return a value. It doesn't give you like 47 to use in something, or cat, or your grandma's birthday, or something like that. All it does is it sets the txt answer text to whatever the answer to this equation is. But a function will return a value, or in this instance, because we're going to set it as a Boolean, it's going to return either a true or a false. So when we start out, we're going to type private. And this is another thing I want to cover later. When using private or public, it doesn't make a difference, but it's just a little too deep for this intro video. So actually, let me retype that real quick. Private specifies that one or more declared programming elements are accessible only from within their module, class, or structure. So you can only use them in here. If you want, you can go on Microsoft's website. You can just Google private versus public functions or subroutines in Visual Studio, and you can find a million better examples than I could give you. So right now, we started it. We have private. Now, what do we want to create? We want to create a function. I'm going to put function, declares a name, parameters, and code, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and just a little tidbit. You can see Visual Studio already has functions built into it. So you put cint, and this is, as you can see, is a function that converts an expression to an integer data type. So these are already created in here. We're just creating our own. So we put private function, and here's where we put the name for it. Now ours, we are using it for error handling. We're making sure that whatever the user typed into the text box is in fact an integer. So when we run our program, it won't just crash. So they can't write in cat, and then Visual Studio won't be able to convert cat into an integer, and it'll crash and they'll lose data. We're going to use this for error handling. So I am going to name it is numbers. So we have private, which is the scope of our function. We have function, which is what this is, and is numbers, which is going to be the name of our function. And just for now, we're going to put parentheses right there. And I will show you what those are for. And of course, if you start a function, if you start a sub, you need an end sub, you need an end function. If you create an if statement, you need an end for that if statement. So in this parentheses here, we are going to put two different things. We're going to put by, and you can put ref or val. And the difference is by ref or by val is the reference, it calls the actual code. So if you change it in the function, then it will change in the variable. Or you can do by val, which is actually what we are going to do to where it stays the same. So we're going to put by val, and we just need a name for it. We are going to name it text1. And this will become clear later. Obviously, this isn't the name of a variable that we have. It doesn't need to be the name. And we're going to put the type. What is text1 going to be? It is going to be, for us, a text box. And we have two text boxes that we need to pass in. So we're going to put by val text2 as text box. Now we have the values that we're passing into here. And right now we have private function is numbers, which is our name, what we're passing in, but we don't have what type of function it is. We don't want to return an integer. We don't want to return a name. We don't want to return a date. So we're going to put as Boolean, which again, using IntelliSense, it'll tell you represents a Boolean, true or false value. So now we have the basic setup for our function. Now we just need to put the code in. So what we are going to do is if, create an if statement, is numeric. So what this is doing is, again, this is a function. It's returning a Boolean stating if the text that I put in here is indeed a function. So we're going to put text1, because this is one of the text boxes that we're passing in, dot text. Now what that is saying is, ignore the little errors right now, we're not done with the code. What that is saying is the text box that we put in there, if its text is numeric, then do something. But we don't want to check just one, we want to check two. So we're going to put and is numeric, and we're going to put text2.text. And those are the names that we assign these text box when we're passing in the value here, text1 and text2. We're going to check here, if those equals true, then, so what this is doing is saying if the first text box put in, if its text and the second text box text are numeric, that is all that this is checking here, equals true, then what do we want to happen? We want is numbers, which is the function that we created, to equal true. So all we're saying in, you might have got confused there, I know I talked kind of slow and that was long code, but all we're saying is that the two text boxes that we are passing in, if their texts are indeed numeric, if they're numbers, if they're integers that the user put in, then we just want to return the value true. That's all. That's all that this is doing right here. Now, what if they're not? So we're going to put else is going to be is numbers equals false. And you'll see that squiggly line went away from end function because now we represent both of the values that could be returned in both of the situations. So that is the beginning of our function. Now it's not doing anything yet. We haven't applied it. Now what we want to do is go down here and we're going to create another if statement. We're going to put if is numbers equals false, then message box. We want to show something to our user. If this function returned a false value, it's saying that one or both of the text boxes have something other than numerals in it, something other than integers in there. And we don't want that because it'll crash our program. So we're going to say, please enter only numbers. And just for this, we're going to use OK only, because we don't really want our user to be able to do anything else. We just want to display that message, and we have our end if and the end of our function. So now we have this function, but we're not calling it anywhere. And here is where we will start doing that. We're going to put if is numbers txt num1 txt num2. So here, this is where we're passing in the values for text1 and text2. So you can just replace text1 right here with txt num1, which is our text box, And right here you can replace text2 with txt num2 because we're passing in, we're assigning a value to text1 and text2. And you can see right here we already put in the dot text, so we don't have to write it here. So we have if those two text boxes equals false, then exit sub. So what we're doing here is we're calling this function, we're running this function, and if it returns a false value, it'll run through here, return a false. This if statement will go off. Is numbers equals false, this message will display. But if we didn't have this exit sub right here, it would run the function and then it would keep going. So even though it would say, please enter only numbers, they would get the message box to pop up, they would still get this right here. Visual Studio would still run the CINT, since it is trying to convert characters into integers, and that just wouldn't work. Okay, and now all we need to do is apply this to all of our buttons, and let's run this here. So let's put in 12 and 10. Add together, 22, subtract, multiply, divide. Nothing's really changed because we are using integers. Now let's say if we put, I don't think our user would put in cat or dog or anything like that, but what if they just spelled out a number? What if they put 7? We try to add together, we get please enter only numbers, and that's it. Because we have that exit sub right there. It exits the button click sub before it goes to convert the text boxes into integers. So that is how we could handle our errors here. And I think that's where I'm going to end the video. This is a lot to take in if you're new to it. Just try to understand this function. Like I said, I will make another video explaining functions and explaining subroutines because I know this was kind of a lot to take in. It was a lot of new concepts, and honestly, it could be kind of confusing. It was a little difficult for me even to get this far when I made this because I haven't created a subroutine function, my own subroutine function in a while, other than button clicks, text boxes, stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it kind of made sense. If it didn't, don't worry. I am going to make the 2 new videos, and I promise it will be a lot simpler than this one. This one was kind of convoluted, had a lot in it, but I hope you gained something from it. Thank you for watching. Please watch the next videos. I will explain these better, and by the end, you will have an excellent calculator. See you in the next one.